Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back. It is Monday, July 22nd, and things are moving fast and furious in the insane world of news and information, in the information war to end all information wars. Um, crazy stuff going on all of the time everywhere you look. And tonight the theme is going to be we're going to cover a lot of ground tonight, guys. I don't know how, but by some bizarre miracle I check Facebook every week and they say, nope, you can't stream, nope, you can't stream, nope, you can't stream. Tonight they said, yes, you can stream on Facebook. So hello, a long time no see. It's been several months now since they've allowed me to stream on Facebook. Hello to everybody on Rumble. Tonight's theme is going to be revolving a little bit around this. Whenever there's a big story in the media, look for the story they're trying to distract you from, right? So we're going to be covering a lot of ground today. I've got a ton of stories lined up for you guys, and we're gonna take a little bit of a slightly different spin with some of this today. But at the end of the day, I want everybody to remember, I love this quote from Frank Zappa: "Politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex." Right? So when we just think about that for just a moment while people are still getting in here, thank you guys for finding the time to be here Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Central. We've got a lot coming up over the next week. Some guests, Nadine Ness on this coming Wednesday, on this coming Thursday. Whoa, trying some new stuff here. You guys like the new graphics and colors tonight, guys? I'm testing out some new stuff, always trying to make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. So I've got some new themes and backgrounds and stuff that I've been working on to just do things a little bit different, find a comfort zone. So let me know which one you guys like. And we as we go on here, but for tonight I'm going to roll with this one for right now. I've even got one to make me look like I'm on Shadow's show, right? But no, can't do that one. So we're going to go with the red one tonight. So where do we start? I guess maintenance first, guys. There's been incredible disruptions in how I'm able to deliver whatever it is that I'm delivering, good, bad, or otherwise, to everybody. Incredible disruptions in that on all of the platforms. Like I said, for some strange, bizarre reason, they've let me back onto Facebook tonight. But I'm going to take this opportunity to, while we're here, to make sure that everybody knows that there are alternatives out there and they are patriot friendly. This one here, for example, although not perfect, is built, created from the ground up. This is Jason Shepard's baby. It's called WIMKN, stands for World Must Know. This is where we stream every night. Every stream is on there as well. So I want everybody to make sure that plug that in for a backup as an alternative. Been here for quite some time now. Jason is very attentive, although just reach out to him. You can pretty much get a hold of him. If you have any issues, get a hold of me as well. So that's a big one. And of course, over on X, we're kind of doing, finally getting to do a little bit of growing over on X. We're streaming on X. They're one of the only places that have not disrupted any of the streaming capacity that we've got. So these are places right off the bat here. I just want to make sure everybody double checks on and gets plugged in there. And on X, guys, if you get plugged in on X on Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern time, Jim Ferguson from Freedom Train International over in the UK has invited me to be a guest on his show, which will be streamed on X as well. So make sure you get plugged in over there. That's always an amazing conversation when we get to plug directly into Europe. A couple of weeks ago, Jim was on this show. You see it over here on Substack, which is a great time for me to make sure that everybody gets plugged in and does not forget about Substack. Free there as well every day. after a show, anything that I've covered or used in the show, the links are in Substack. You guys can go and download whatever documents I'm sharing with you guys. You guys will be able to go and download them, get them, any graphics. You can, go far with what I'm bringing you guys there on Substack. And as again, it's free. Make sure you get plugged in on there. There is an option to subscribe. As soon as you click open a link, and it'll give you an option to, for free, founding member, $175 a year, or annually you can get it all for $6, $60 a year, or $6 a month if you do it by the month. So, I mean, it's less than 50 cents a show if you want to help me keep going and doing what I'm doing. So these are the way where we are investing our community and creating alternative lines of communication and information distribution, and making sure that you guys have the best advantages that you have in the fight moving forward. So now we're going to go to the theater, the military industrial complex, and we're going to take I thought, in an ode or a salute to the information war and the memesters of the universe being some of the most effective at combating whatever it is that we're up against, and actually getting the message out there. So you guys saw this one. This was a clip that I got off of a video from Elon Musk earlier today about AI, and it had all of the world leaders in there. I should probably pull it up and play that for you guys, but I got so much going on here. Tune in tomorrow. I'll make sure I've got the whole clip for you. It is mind-bendingly hilarious when AI creates a visualization of all of the world players, movers, and shakers. But we're going to talk about how it's going this week, going into Monday, or I guess now it's kind of towards the end of Monday, how it's going for some of our illustrious world leaders. And we're going to start with some slides, and I got a bunch of these graphics slides for you guys. The Auditor General's report highlights finding of massive fraud, corruption, and conflict of interest when awarding contracts to companies like McKinsey and Co. and Sustainable Technology Canada in the sum of hundreds of millions over the last 10 years. Canada is a banana republic. There's a video in that post. I'll make sure that you guys have that in the Substack tomorrow, but we're going to kind of skip over a few things, connect some dots through all of these, and make a real rocket trip around the world. So this is just kind of on the heels or about the same time as Trudeau being at the G7 and promising another $5 billion towards Ukraine in a promissory note as the G7 leaders. So now we covered this earlier in the week where Zelensky got bilateral agreements, which is promises of. At the end of the day, Trudeau's promising him another $5 billion, and you guys are, and the rest of us are going to be left holding the dime on that. So that's just, another thing that's going on in Trudeau's week, notwithstanding Larry Brock and his evisceration of the ArriveCan scandal, and that is of course directly connected to the Trudeau regime and McKinsey and Co., who so far have skated on any accountability in the billions of dollars or hundred. I mean, I can't keep track of it, but when it comes to just events piling up, this is the mainstream media is pretty much not covering what's going on with the Khalistani and Palestine revolts that are happening. Obviously, two tiers of justice and tolerance. Canadians, the average old stock Canadians during the convoy were met with a different kind of stampede, I guess, than what we're seeing happening in most of the urban centers and areas. They've been really expressive, shall we say, also in Calgary and Vancouver. So this is a nationwide phenomena of political and now civil unrest in the midst of the rest of this regime's issues, shall we say. And then we've got Toronto. Trudeau calls Toronto's flooding a significant event, not just a significant event, but highlighting the importance of climate change. This, we're going to have a little bit of fun with this, guys, because really what they're doing is ignoring the fact that Toronto, and this is a perfect example because this is just a reminder that Toronto was built in a basin surrounded by a green belt. If you think today's flooding was bad, you're not ready for what's going to happen if Doug Ford gets his way to develop the 15-minute cities in the green belts, right? With the transit and the housing right next to the new transit, and blame it all on climate change and completely ignoring reality, and doing so because after tens and hundreds of millions of dollars spent to McKinsey and Deloitte and these companies, telling them this is what they need to do to make their fantasy real under this eco-terrorism, when the reality of it is, here we've got 4 Nobel Prize winning climate realists that are completely not allowed in the discussions. Facebook removal, watch for it anytime soon. Make sure you're double checked that you're on catching up on Rumble as well, guys, or X. Looks like we got 60 some folks on X and about 80 on Rumble. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, guys. This is a team effort. This is, I swim through the swamp all day to find this stuff, but I still kind of depend on you guys to get it out there after we get it out here to everybody. But yeah, people, they are absolutely mentally over the edge about climate change. And before we get to that, we're gonna back off of this here, and I'm gonna pull up. So I've got some other stuff lined up here, and it'll kind of tie back all into one pretty little bow throughout the tail end of this. Now I've got a video, and we'll pull up just a minute of this video for everybody, and we'll start with this from Batra's Burning Questions.
Canada's public service has ballooned by 42% in almost 10 years. Can you believe that? Have your services improved? Is it worth the money? Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Laurie Goldstein and Brian Lilly. So the numbers go back to 2015 when Harper left office, Laurie, and now to 2024, hopefully when Trudeau will be leaving office soon. And the numbers show a 42% increase in the civil service in Canada. And, it's over
42%. That in 10 years. And Randy Hillier says it best: the more government you have, the less freedom you have. So by 42%, our freedoms have eroded in Canada, and we have 42%, which is almost half, almost double of halfway to double of the parasites sucking the blood and life out of Canadians. But she makes a couple of other points here in the last 30 seconds, and then I'll let you guys watch the rest of it out of Substack tomorrow.
367,000 employees. Brian recently just wrote about the jobs numbers last month, that 28% of the jobs increased were civil servants or public servants in the federal service. And now it's costing us over $62 billion for all of these employees. And I have to wonder, is Canada getting value when many of our basic services, like getting our passports, couldn't even be fulfilled?
So that's where I'm going to stop with that one, guys. You guys can check the rest of that out. But at the end of the day, what I want people to think about that is, these guys are enforcers. That's 42% more enforcement of policies that they are manufacturing. And absolutely correct, Ali's dad. Most of it is redundant. It's all about the cover ups and the crime sprees and the pretending that this isn't real so that they can carry on with their insanity. And this is where I'm going to switch to something else that, see how this works. All right. We're going to play a minute from this one here from Scoop Canada. And this is going to start tying into some of the good news because this is really all good news. All right, I'm just going to play a minute of this one.
Welcome back to Scoop Canada. Today we delve into a stunning revelation that has everyone talking. Stephen Guilbeault might be facing jail time for allegedly covering up the economic devastation brought on by the Liberal government's policies. Yes, you heard it right. Guilbeault is now under fire for his role in what many are calling an economic catastrophe. This isn't just a political scandal, it's a potential criminal issue that could shake the very foundation of Trudeau's government. The accusations are severe. Guilbeault is accused of hiding the true extent of the economic damage caused by the Liberal government's policies, particularly those related to climate change and carbon taxation. These policies have led to skyrocketing costs for Canadians, with the carbon tax alone adding significant financial strain to households and businesses alike. It's no surprise that public outcry is at an all-time high, and many are calling for accountability. Critics argue that the Liberal government under Trudeau's leadership has continuously misled Canadians about the true cost and impact of their policies.
That's the point I wanted out of this one, guys, about the misleading of the facts and the policy in when it comes to the reality that they're facing. And I gotta, at the end of the day, this next clip is going to explain what this meme is about. A revolutionary war was brewing, but I managed to turn it into a culture war, right? That now we're going to watch a clip from Sebastian, and it's a little bit longer, about 14 minutes. We may not watch it all, but this is, we talk about, we hear about Yuri Bezmenov a lot. And the reason I'm pulling this one up, I'm going to run through this one, is because Sebastian has done a really great job of pulling out some of the highlights. He's a fantastic, articulated, gives a really great analysis. So I'll let Sebastian talk about this one for a little bit, and we'll tie that back into what's going on here in Canada and some wins of the week that will be coming up a little bit later. All right. Go, Yuri.
Ideological subversion is the slow process, which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages.
Meet Yuri Bezmenov. He's a Russian KGB defector who has defected into the United States in the 1970s. In 1984, he's given this famous speech that you have just seen, a little snippet of it. I'm going to show you all of it, and it's been absolutely famous. What this man says has proven to be true with prophetic accuracy. Every single one of the things he predicted in 1984 have stood the test of time, unfortunately, and we can now look back and say, wow, was he real? Was he a prophet? Or was he just a fraud? Many people I've seen online, they think he's a fraud. To be fair, at this point, it's absolutely irrelevant, because what he has to say, it's beyond prophecy, honestly. We're going to go into it and we're going to have a look. One last thing I would like to point out before we move to the next bit of the video is when he talks about people being unable to come to any sensible conclusions, even in the interest of defending themselves and their families, because they've been absolutely brainwashed. This is absolutely true even to this day. just try and have a conversation about, for example, the war in Ukraine with anybody. Give them facts, give them historical context. It will not matter to them. All that their brain will tell them is Putin is bad, Putin is bad, Putin is bad. There is no reasonable argument. There is no rational argument. It's just an impulse. That's what he's talking about. But let's check out what he has to say about the first stage, because this, this is prophecy.
I want to pause it just for a second there, and for just to add on to that a little bit. If Putin is bad, if in fact Putin really is bad, think of the power of the knowledge of this kind of psyop that they could wage, that Yuri knew so much about before he shared with us in 1984. I think it was actually 1985, actually, but regardless, he was telling us about what was standard issue KGB information in 1985, and here our nations are 100% the victim of it. And so I'm going to get back to a little bit of this clip. So if Russia was bad then, why are we even still here? Like, I mean, this isn't Russia doing this. This is our own leadership that is doing this. But I'll let you read.
The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
Now, he talks about this process taking 15 to 20 years, but that's in the context of 1984, when people were getting themselves educated in schools, by the curriculum.
The internet had only just been invented. Cell phones, computers, and the internet only came into this life as we know it in 1982. So I highly doubt that Yuri was prepared for understanding how exponentially fast they would be able to weaponize this against the most lush targets on the planet, us.
In the schools. Today, that process is so much faster because we have the social media, and the schools don't represent what they used to be. You see, in 1984, when Yuri was still alive, when people went to school, they would just have a little bit of circle of friends there, but for the most part, they would get themselves educated. Today, say, for example, a university campus is nothing but a brainwashing center. People don't pay as much attention to the curriculum per se, but mostly to the teachers who are absolutely out of their minds in the vast majority, not everybody, but take a look at these teachers these days. It's absolutely appalling. So that has changed. The speed with which the brainwashing goes these days is not 15, 20 years, as Yuri pointed out. That was true then. Today is probably less than half of that time because of social media. Then he's saying that most of this brainwashing is done by Americans to Americans due to the lack of moral standards. Well, let me tell you something about the moral standards. You see, do you remember the times when being normal started to become being weird? Being normal is not good. There were even TV commercials that were propagating this expression. Oh, it's not fine to be normal. Who wants to be normal? You have to be unique. Do you remember those times? I think it was about 10, 15 years ago in Europe, mind you, in Europe, when that started to become popular. Well, that's why. Because once you become weird, anormal, right, unique, that's when you let go of the moral standards. Because Standards mean you have to abide by some guidelines. You take those guidelines away, you're going to be all over the place. That's when you gave up the moral standards. That's when you opened yourself up to being propagandized. Well done. Then he's saying that the facts don't matter to these people who have been demoralized. And he's absolutely true. Because being demoralized, you can translate it as in a person who has lost their moral compass. You have no moral compass, you're just going to stumble your way through life, and you're just going to be very willing to accept whatever some faceless guy is going to tell you on TV. Do you know who's a perfect example of this? I think I found the perfect example for you guys. It's Piers Morgan. Do you remember those debates that he's had with Professor Jeffrey Sachs? And no matter how much historical context the professor has given him, he was simply unable to process any of it. He didn't even try to refute Professor Sachs' comment.
You see the same thing with feminists still trying to debunk Jordan Peterson, not saying anything outside of just that alone, but that man has taken a million runs at him about transgenderism and feminism and this, equality and diversity nonsense. But he's 100% on point of this. And when we think back to some of the things we've learned from Andrew Breitbart, that all politics runs downstream of culture, and realizing that the people that are kind of at the wheels of the culture bus through the educational systems from A to Z, top to bottom, they aren't there for education. They are there for implementing culture change, right? A culture revolution, a revolutionary war out the window. Well, my screen just went wonky on me. Let me get that out of the way. A revolutionary war, we, instead of us taking out the bad guys, they've managed to turn it into a culture war, right? So kind of where we're at here now with the whole lot of this, and how are we here and what are we going to have to do?
All he said was, but Putin bad, but Putin bad, but Putin bad. Do you agree Putin bad? Do you agree? That's all he had to say, because his brain is not wired to think for itself and to listen to reason and logic. Oh no, it's just to spew out whatever he was told.
The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter.
This is my favorite part of this, because those who have been around here on this platform for a while have been hearing me scream and scream and scream and scream over and over and over again about the manufactured destabilization. Here we are.
Does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. It's what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world, that the process will go that fast.
Oh, this is a beautiful stage, isn't it? The destabilization. Tell me, which one of these, economy, defense systems, foreign relations, tell me which one of these is not a complete disaster in the European Union and the United States? You see, the European Union is doing extremely poorly economically for many years, and it's only going to go downhill from here. Make no mistake about it. And the US, at the same time, is drowning in oceans of debt.
So I left him a comment on this, and maybe you could go and leave him a nice comment. Leave Sebastian a nice comment and say, hey, what's up, Canada, dude? He would really have a great conversation with you. He's tried to reach out to you, because these guys, they give such a great analysis, but they skip over Canada. And being the second largest national landmass in the world, you'd think that they would kind of clue in that we are the backyard, we are the swamp, we are the the cottage country and money laundering maintenance room for all of these insane weirdos that are trying to take over our planet. So yeah, go follow Sebastian, give him a subscription, and tell him to hook up with that Wayne guy on What's Up Canada, right? And so when we look at here in Canada, our military neutered, our economy neutered, and we're drowning in debt. Pretty much sums it up, right? The right for the pickings by design.
You want to talk about defense systems? Oh, let's do that. Because after this video, I have another video coming which talks exactly about defense systems. So feel free to tune into that one when it comes out. It should be in a few hours difference. But let me just say a few words here. Those defense systems that exist in the United States, because let's be honest, they're the only ones in this hemisphere who have any meaningful defense systems, have not been designed to fight a peer adversary. They have been designed to fight people in sandals who have no air support or any armored vehicles whatsoever. And then the point that really made my day was when he talked about the Marxist-Leninist ideology that has been brought into the economy. You see, this is why ideology does not belong in the economy, no matter what the ideology is. In this specific case, it reminds me of the woke mob. You see, do you remember when those social programs started to come about? And then there was the affirmative action, and then it was the DEI, and then it was these diversity hires. That's how you take the economy down the shitter, by doing these exact things. Because you're no longer interested in the most competent person for the job. Now you have quotas to fill. Now you have boxes to tick. Competency and the end result, it's just a byproduct. It's not the target anymore. You cannot have a competitive society with these principles. It is simply impossible. That's why the rest of the world is moving in at 100 kilometers an hour, and Europe and the US are chugging behind, maybe, 10 kilometers an hour. That's why the rest of the world has not just caught up with us, has surpassed us in many, many aspects. But you have no one to talk to because no one will listen.
So on that note, where does that, diversity, equity, and inclusion situation get us? Kind of like right here. I don't know what happened, but this eagle is about to speak to a manager, and the manager is suddenly checking out of the story, and Mr. Trump has responded to said manager stepping out of the picture, but that's kind of where it ends up when when diversity, we know what happened there, and now here in Canada, we've got one of those diversity hires running our neutered military services. So let's just carry on here a little bit more with Yuri and take a little bit of take notes on what we might be in store for.
The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now.
Well, crisis, it can mean anything, people. Take your pick. It can be a war, and we've had plenty. It's not like we're having a shortage of wars, unfortunately. Economic crisis, social unrest. Again, take your pick. Look at the BLM movements. Look at Antifa. Look at what's going on in France. Look at what happened in the UK just 2 days ago in Leeds. People, this is beyond crisis. But again, Yuri Bezmenov was talking about what the Soviets were about to do to the Americans. But then the Americans have already gone through that cycle. Now they're doing it to the Europeans. Again, there's about a 20-year, 30-year gap in between, which is why the effects in Europe, we're only seeing them now. It's just a slight delay, nothing more.
And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda.
Just throw your thumbs up or a thumbs down into the chat or comments, guys, if you think that there is an actual coup going on in the United States of America on Mr. Joe Biden, or if he is actually pulling the strings of the end of his tenure, shall we say, in his time in the driver's seat. So give me a thumbs up if you think it's actually a coup and he's being removed by his fellow Americans, or if he is actually just the jig is up and he doesn't have the support and he's realized he has to go. Thumbs up or thumbs down.
The Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in 1968. Comrade Brezhnev said, now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not.
Benevolent dictators that will promise lots of things, regardless of the promises are fulfilled or not. I see lots of thumbs up here. Absolutely, guys. So is any of that kind of ringing a bell on anybody that we know? Benevolent dictators that making lots of promises. This is just a short list of people that are exiting the stench of Mr. Trudeau, shall we say, in the meantime. So I think I'm really hoping that this has been a nice refresher review for folks on dinging those warning bells on what stage of this we're at. He's at stage 4 here, and he talks about crisis. Well, we're going to get into that in just a second. Crisis, more manufactured crisis.
Yeah, what do you think of this kind of normalization, people? It's not the good kind. Remember when they started to circulate this expression around, how was it? Oh, the new normal. That's exactly what he alludes to. Again, this guy has described everything with prophetic accuracy, 100%. And then he's mentioning the abandonment of the principles of the free market. Well, I'm glad he brought that up. Look at what the European Union is doing. I've been making videos for a month about the European Union trying to artificially kick out the competition by imposing tariffs, sanctions, whatever you want to call them. And then there's people, this is what really gets my blood.
We were covering this earlier this week, what they've been doing to Hungary and Orban, and last week Georgia, what they're doing to them. Really, if you don't play, it's my way or the highway. So the EU is targeting anybody that's trying to do what's right by their nations or to seek peace in the conflict.
Boiling. There's people who defend this shit. And they're saying, oh, Sam, the Chinese are bad. You will pay the price. It's not the Chinese who pay that price. It's you, the consumer, because at that point you have two choices. You either pay extra for a Chinese product that otherwise would have been much cheaper, or you'll say, oh, no, I'm virtuous. I won't buy a Chinese product. Okay, well, go and buy an American one. Same quality or worse for much higher the price. So who loses in the end? If you're happy to take that loss, then I don't know what to tell you. I know what to tell you, but I won't say it on YouTube.
So I want to make a point of this. He's right. We got so used to cheap stuff. We don't make anything here anymore. So now we're punished if we want to purchase something that's made here because it's going to cost an arm and a leg, and we don't have the capacity to turn out high quality, high volume products of almost any kind here anymore. So we're already deep into this cycle of devaluing our own expertise in manufacturing, which is the inevitable tailspin into a crash. The instant now China, we say China bad, we suffer for it because we put ourselves in this position. And I'm not saying that we did this willingly. This was by design. Again, this has all been manufactured so that we pay the price and we suffer. That is the ultimate control, is through suffering, right? And that is what these evil monsters in the deep swamp, that's how they control. They are only thriving when we are suffering. So they have manufactured and destabilized every capacity they can to extract every drop of blood and value that we have. That's what these monsters want. So he's right. You know, we can't just complain about China bad. We have to live our knowledge and understanding and build something better moving forward and get back our manufacturing skills, because the culture revolution is destroying any skills that we used to create in our education and system. So yeah.
But you know, this is the problem these days. And the last big thing that he mentions, it's about the big brother government. Oh boy, I've made a video about this. I think it was about 3 weeks ago or so. Nobody watched that video. So if you're wondering, oh, Seb, have you made a video? Yes, I did. You haven't watched it. That is probably my worst performing video that I've ever made. I think it's barely
I wonder why.
got like 1,000 views. It's called Big versus Small Government. And you know what I said in that video? Pretty much exactly what Yuri's saying here. When you have a big government, you cannot have a free society. The bigger the government, the more it infringes upon your civil liberties, freedom of speech. All your rights will slowly be on their way out the moment that government starts to get bigger. Look back
Gee, you don't say, Sebastian. I think you nailed that one again.
at Europe and the United States. Look at them in a time when you admire that. You might have not lived through those times, but I'm sure you read some history. You might have seen something that made you think, oh, do you know what? That was a great place at some point. Look back at that point and try to make a comparison. Was Europe's or the United States' government as big as it is today? No, it was much, 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 much tinier. Because you see, the smaller the government, the more you have a say in it. The bigger it is, the smaller you'll be. And that's how they got you. That's how they tricked you. That's how they got you to this point. You see, we have the luxury of time, people. We no longer have to believe. We can look back. Look back from 1984 to today. Look back. You've seen the trends. You've seen the wars. You've seen the crashes, the economic crisis. You've seen the social unrest. You've seen it all. You've seen presidents shot. You've seen everything.
He's not wrong, right? Remember where we started with this? On 42% in government and service increase in government, and what's it really getting us? Not what we think. Now this video is going to be a little tough for people to listen to, but this is the depths of how little people understand how all of this is happening, all of this that we've just gone through here. We're going to cover lots of good comments in here. Keep them coming, guys. I'll get to those in just a minute here. This is just I feel bad for this woman. Listen to her and think about what's going on in your neighborhoods.
Okay, so I know I'm not supposed to notice these things or ask these questions, but it needs to be noticed and the questions need to be asked. So I've lived in a nice suburb of Columbus for about 5 years now in the same apartment complex. And since moving in, slowly but surely, all of my neighbors have become foreigners. I am one of the only Americans that live in my complex now. If I go to take a walk around the neighborhood with my son, almost nobody speaks English. And all of them look at me like I'm the odd man out. Like, what's this white girl doing here in our neighborhood? If I go to the pool, it's almost all Spanish speaking or Middle Eastern speaking families. Like, I am one of the only English speaking Americans in my complex. And that doesn't seem right to me. How is this okay that I, an American, am being conquered basically in my own home? Is anybody else upset with this? Is anybody else noticing this? That we're now made to feel out of place? And I'm not even talking about race. I'm not talking about race. When I see a fellow Black person, I'm like, yes, you're an American. Like, thank you for being here with me side by side. Because it has nothing to do with race. I'm speaking about fellow Americans being pushed out of their homes and being conquered by people who aren't from here, people who don't speak our language. It feels wrong. I don't see how this is okay, and this doesn't seem like a strength for us. This diversity thing doesn't seem like it's going good. Yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Am I being irrational? Am I being irrational that I feel uncomfortable in the fact that I'm like the only one of my neighbors that speaks English and actually has an ancestry here in America, that can like go to a cemetery and see my grandma and grandpa who are buried here? Am I wrong for feeling like that shouldn't be the case? I don't think that I am. I think that this is perfectly natural to be upset that my home is being conquered by foreigners. Where are my fellow Americans?
So I want to ask you guys: do you think that she's being irrational? Because I hear this, I hear this a lot from all different points and directions, and to me, this is a desperate woman, a desperate plea for understanding. This is not hate. This is a relevant discussion. It is. People are feeling this in so many places that just cannot absorb the level of new cultural enrichment that is being basically, they're not being given any choice over, and they're coming from all over the place. So in all of this, I'm only gonna play just. I want to get through some extra stuff, so I'm going to be with you guys here just a little bit over my planned time, but I played just a minute of this so the people hear kind of where this is going to be something they're going to be hearing a lot of.
And Labrador to take Justin Trudeau and his government to court over Canada's broken equalization payment system. Premier David Eby dropped a truth bomb accusing Trudeau of forcing hardworking British Columbians to bankroll services in central Canada through unjust taxation. He slammed the equalization formula as completely absurd for transferring billions from the West to prop up Quebec and Ontario. This surprising intervention dramatically escalates the growing discord between Ottawa and some provinces over equalization. Eby and Newfoundland's Premier Andrew Furey are now.
So that's all I need to play of this, because I want to ask people. I want to make a point about this. Here we have provinces squabbling for money that they didn't earn, and the state is giving it to them. This has been straight up communism since this equalization system was implemented under Trudeau Sr. Straight up communism wrapped as equalization, equality for all states and measures. One cannot have more than we want them to, right? That's exactly what this is, and now we've got provinces squabbling for their share of a system that isn't representative enough. Has Saskatchewan or Alberta ever received anything in equalization payments? I think Saskatchewan might have once, but the West, they've been the ones that have been pillaged. Why? For nonsense like this clown, right? But it's not really going so well for him, because people are done with the crisis, and we're at level stage 4, as we've kind of learned here through a refresher, Yuri Bezmenov, of course. And this is what people are realizing, that this guy doesn't represent democracy, and we've got meat muppets coming apart at the seams, and Trudeau included, that are squealing about representing democracy, but yet this clown is banning more opposition parties, and realizing, as we've covered here over the past several weeks, that his days are numbered. So now he's been getting empty promises from meat muppet leaders that are collapsing and falling apart one by one by one. and the world collectively coming together and realizing that, hey, Europe and America, we have been invaded. And people, you want to scream racism. If it weren't for the exact same quote unquote issue of cultures being destroyed, the very first crusades would never have begun. It's the same war 1,000 years later, but now this crusade will begin here, and this has been manufactured to be so. And without getting into the politics of the United States, I'm not going to do that. This is a statement by a Ukrainian MP regarding the regarding the event being unsuccessful and the outlook that Mr. Trump is going to be the duly elected 47th president of the United States if he survives the desperation of the cabal that is, which I'm praying that he does. I don't want to see that happen anywhere, place, shape, time, or form, but this is a representative of Zelensky saying that the will of the American people to choose their leaders is a member. I guess it kind of got clipped off, but they all know that their lives and physical existence depend on whoever they choose and the support we get from our biggest and strongest ally. So that's this guy's office's response to the to realizing that Mr. Trump is going to be the next boss. And then we have this, because that's really what Americans, I do believe they're done with the Ukraine. And so series of events, for those that haven't caught up to everything, Joe's resigned, Donald has responded, and the thing that terrifies me most is this thing potentially having access to the nuclear codes. That should terrify every person on this planet. But that's just my opinion. And this whole point, I have to share this one. At this point, I have to ask, why would Putin even bother to attack America? Because he's got the Democrats. Y'all already got the Democrats. Don't need Putin to attack America. So yeah, there's all of that, and all of that under the fraud of climate change, climate terrorism, all of those things that our government up here is absolutely in denial of. And I'm going to add this graphic into the Substack tomorrow so you guys can get that. And this is how many billions of dollars they are stealing from you and giving to McKinsey. And this goes, this is Canada's spending at McKinsey. For my American friends out there, please look into how much you guys are being siphoned by these planners of your own manufactured destabilization. So a couple last things here, and then we're going to get into some good news. We're going to close the show off with good news, and we've got some of that and something that's going to make you laugh too, I'm sure. But this is a follow-up to some of the other issues going on here in Canada. This is a report from cultureguard.com. And this is mostly to do with the digital ID of every living critter on every farm, private or otherwise, that has any kind of livestock. So these guys, and there's the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not going to go into this report, but I want just cover this and make sure that you guys can get this report, get it downloaded, get it saved, add it to your quill of information and arrows. But this is an important point that you guys are going to need to know as to what is coming. This is going to help when you're fighting your communities with the Kikli and the Ikli as well. Know your enemy, know their plan. And this is a really good breakdown of what that is. But all provinces are involved in the Premises Identification Program, PID. is a national program that has recently expanded Canada's livestock traceability system. Registration has become mandatory in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Quebec, and Prince Edward Island. The other provinces are adopting the required infrastructure and legal framework to move into mandating compliance. This is preparation. This is doing the groundwork for the implementation of the buzzard bug and the culling of the food supply. This is the next great big crisis. Communism, fascism 101, control the food, control the people. And we talked about it, earlier here with Yuri, military, economy, and supply. That's exactly the warfare. This is the battleground of the warfare, the information warfare that we are waging right now, that you all need to know. That document is going to help. Okay, now I'm kind of running through some of this a little bit quicker, but this one is important. This is just a republication, finally accepted, published again on the finally, and accepted and published on July 19th. The spatiotemporal variation of excess all-cause mortality in the world, 125 countries during the beer bug period. I'm still tentative with using any language, being in Canada, the most censored country in the Western Hemisphere, probably next to Cuba. But 2020 to 2023 regarding socioeconomic factors in public health and medical interventions. This is a report authored by Dennis Rancourt, Joseph Hickley, and Christian Linard. I highly suggest you guys download a copy of this. This is the foundation. It's 521 pages long. This is the backbone to every case moving forward to accountability and transparency in Canada, and probably the rest of the legal and lawful world as well, now that this has been undeniably accepted, proven, and accepted. So this is what the fraud and the cover-up has been so desperate to make sure that you guys didn't get your hands on. This document is it. You'll need to get a hold of that, and we'll have an analysis with some folks really, really soon. But I'm already seeing cases that are starting to sprout and gathering for this. So this will help you guys in the USA, and it'll help you guys here in Canada. If you know people that don't think what was done was right, I think this is probably going to be the most important document that they're going to need, and they're going to try and censor. So make sure you get it while you can, guys. All right, so we're going to finish off with some wins of the week. I won't keep you guys too much longer. We'll have a little bit of fun with this before we check out. Political world. Elon Musk has announced, yes, that everything is moving to Texas, and I just cannot help myself, but I like Texas. So yeah, Elon has moved everything to Texas, and they are getting a massive bump in their economy in a free state that believes in a constitutional republic and the rule of law. So that's going to only draw massive numbers of patriots and solid Americans to Texas. So that's a kind of a fun way to start it off. And I'll have these links in there. You guys couldn't hear it. That really sucks. Just for everybody, I'll go and play it for y'all.
All my exes live in Texas.
It wasn't garbled, Ellie. Ellie's dead. That was probably just me singing along with it. That made it horrible. So back to the story. All right, guys. The Canadian COVID Care Alliance has produced a new video that asks the question, were we lied to? And I think everybody knows that, but the CCCA has been, they were the pioneers in this. Those of you who remember the very first doctor talks, the very first time any of them spoke out was here at Doctor Talks 1 with Dr. Byron Bridle, and then Dr. Paul Alexander and Steve Hirsch, and so many more. This platform, our platform, What's Up Canada, was the pioneer for all of that, and Canadian COVID Care Alliance used that to get going with what they're doing, and they're doing incredible work over there. So let's see what else here. Number 3, Trump admitted during a phone call with Robert Kennedy Jr. that childhood vaccines were causing significant injuries. Yeah, the vax business is going to be in trouble with the new administration in November. So this week, pro-family candidate Robert Kozlowski secured a landslide victory in a by-election for the York Region District School Board. Kozlowski won by the by-election with over 65% of voters supporting his platform opposing political indoctrination in schools. Huge kudos to that community. York Regional School District or School Board. He promised to respect parental rights and to keep political agendas out of the classroom. He also pledged to preserve Canadian anthem and flag in schools. We need a whole lot more of that, folks, a whole lot more of that. I'll try and find some more information on that. It looks like there's a link in this article as well. So this is how we get connected, and we build our networks by connecting people with information and getting new systems of information transferred together, right? So Vaccine Choice Canada has been invited to set up a table at the PPC convention. I don't call that good news, but some might. Manitoba's temporary pause in the genetic invasion was halted for the summer until fall. I think that's temporary good news. For, I guess, for everyone that doesn't get one, that's good news, right? So in the U.S., I believe, this is Dr. Robert Redfield, who was former CDC director, admitted to the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs that vaccine mandates were a complete mistake. Redfield claims President Biden insisted that the CDC suppress data on adverse reactions in order to maintain confidence in the narrative, not the jab, in the narrative. Let's get that one straight. He said there was not appropriate transparency from the beginning about the potential side effects of these jabs, and I do think there were inappropriate decisions by some to try to underreport any side effects because they argued that that would make the public less likely to get them. Well, we interviewed Dr. Phillips early on, who lost his career for exactly that. They destroyed him for trying to help adverse events get reported, right? RFK, he's been a long-time warrior against these things, conflict of interest. He was warning about that. Regulators, there's a lot going on with that and around that. Absolutely. What do we got here? Oh, yes, this is important. NIH owns 50% of Moderna jab patents, sharing billions in profits. And guess what, guys? I discovered that I don't know how many, but I can say for a fact that at least one major union in Canada was invested in Moderna before they had a product. At the beginning of the jab, there is no possibility that they did not have insider information in order to invest in this company and have raked in billions of dollars of profit, I would guarantee. So congratulations to the Toronto Teachers Union on their wise investments. And that's all I'm going to say about that at the moment. When we talk about the issues in the cultural and the skills and teaching sector. So the FDA receives 50% of the budget from regulated industries, compromising independence. Well, that's America. I can tell you in Canada, the Health Canada is 100% funded by these same regulated industries. That's a misconception that Canada's healthcare system is publicly funded. That ended in 2019. There is no more public funding goes to Health Canada. So media censorship hinders public awareness of these conflicts. You don't say. I have lost access to hundreds of thousands of people through the censorship of this platform. How many lives has that cost? Thank you, government. So this is kind of big, and this is about Ursula von der Leyen, who we looked at just last week. The General Court of the European Union ordered the Commission to fully disclose that jab contracts it signed with several companies. One of those being Ursula von der Leyen's husband. So no conflict of interest there. So look for more of that to come out that they will not want you seeing. But we'll make sure that we keep you updated on here at What's Up Canada. So let's see what else we got here. Prosecutors have withdrawn charges against James Hearn. Yes, this is a story to celebrate. But that they're getting off the hook. The Crown withdraws charges against this peaceful protester, and I got a chance to meet William a couple of times back when I was covering protests in Toronto. He's a smart, gentle guy, just making things uncomfortable to them. They tasered him repeatedly and arrested him, abused him, and now they are, just dismissing the charges. So the Democracy Fund has helped him there. Apparently, he's fighting back in a personal capacity by privately hiring legal counsel to sue the police for assault, false imprisonment, and various bad faith charter breaches. So there's going to be a whole lot of legal actions moving forward. This one's going to be a little bit differently. I'm going to see if I can get Andrew on for a show at some point in the future or James, sorry, to talk about how we can help him look for some justice in this, because he wasn't the only one. They wanted to make an example of him. Well, we're getting to the point where we're going to be able to start using these examples they made of people as examples against the Crown, right? So, yeah. Lots of stuff going on. John Deere, guys, this is a story that is not over. They've publicly stated that they're done with the DEI stuff, that they're going to backtrack on that. But meanwhile, they have started to recall all kinds of stuff and pull all kinds of weird business practices over the last week. So yeah, stay tuned to that one as well. Arthur Prozowski, I expect, would be going after them. Absolutely. Absolutely terrible how they treated them, these people. And this is a lot of some of these things that I want to keep covering is this insanity never ended for some people. It's still ongoing. People are still suffering, still being abused by something that we know was absolutely an illegitimate lie. And the only thing missing from premeditated in this is establishing that they knew and they did it anyways, which we already know. But the wheels of justice, they just move so dang slow, right? So that's basically a wrap. I wanted to just cover a little bit of wins of the week for folks from some stuff that's happening around the country, around the world. And tomorrow who knows what kinds of shenanigans are going to be taking place in clown world. I've got a bunch of stuff piling up. We'll see which turns into the biggest stack for tomorrow. But like as I mentioned earlier, guys, on Wednesday, we've got Nadine Ness. If you don't remember her, she's a former RCMP officer that left the force uh, just before or during the beginning of COVID and has been a warrior in finding alternative, peaceful ways to trap the governments and forcing change to happen in Saskatchewan. And there's doing some really great stuff over there in the same vein as the York School Board. So these are the kinds of things. There's lots of good stuff going on. People don't fall into the trap of the demoralization, and that remember which stage of the game we're at and fight back or accordingly. We don't need a revolution. We still have time for a renaissance, and that's where we need to just adopt more of these things that are working and are having effect. Wednesday, Nadine Ness. If you guys don't remember, we did a kind of a multi-stream with Sheldon Yakachuk from Yakstack, and there was Drew and I think Marty up north. There was a bunch of us that sat down with a whistleblower who was blowing the whistle on CMHC mortgage frauds and the bank and government's participation in covering it all up. We went a couple of hours and there was no way that we could get to the bottom of that one. But I'm just going to pull up here and as a reminder for everybody, because I think we're getting to everybody back together this coming Wednesday. This one will be at 7 o'clock Mountain, so that'll be 9 o'clock Eastern. I wasn't able to host because of the conflict of with streaming our regular broadcast here. I was not going to. People need to know what Nadine has to share with everybody. So Nadine is up first at 6 o'clock, and then I'll make sure that we get this streamed over if Sheldon actually gets a chance to get it set up. So yeah, Drew Weatherhead and David Skripchenko, Sheldon Yakachuk, and Marty up north. So that's the next couple of days, and then the one that I'm always excited to talk to all of these wonderful people that are doing exceptional things out of love for the rest of us. I'm really looking forward to talking with Jim next Thursday afternoon, and so that was a whirlwind trip from 30,000 feet around the world and some of the shenanigans and a bunch from Canada. Double check, guys. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe buttons. Check the bells. Make sure you get notifications. And really appreciate a share. As I said, we are moving most of everything. The guarantees Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. on Rumble. Facebook, this is a rare treat that I get to share with you guys here on Facebook tonight. So pretty thankful for that. I hope you guys get plugged in on Rumble and Substack. And the big thing that I want everybody to think about is, we are in an informational war. And if you're a whistleblower, you've got an important story. I had no guarantees, but send me an email. This is the way to reach me, through contact@whatsupcanada.org, and we'll see what we can do. I'm always trying to look the direction that the Mockingbird media and the cabal does not want you looking, like that, looking for stories that they're trying to distract us from. And we know that journalists, guys, it's those guys that I just showed you over here and others like them that are on the tip of the spear of this information warfare, and they need your help and support your favorite journalist, regardless of who that is. If that is me here at What's Up Canada, I am so eternally grateful for you guys getting me through thick and thin for 5 years now, and this is the best and easiest way to make sure that you can help me keep doing this and keep growing this and keep building this in spite of everything that they throw at us. This is the best way to help this platform go. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with my favorite partner. You see them down in the, I guess it's the bottom left here for me, right for you. Patriot Switch. These guys, you know, when I talk about manufacturing made in North America, you might have to pay a few cents more, and rarely do you get good quality. But if you can't get it local, and remember, always, rule number one, localism is the 100% safe and effective cure for globalism. Keep that in mind. That is rule number one always. And for everything else, the cabal, Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock will never get another dime from me because they cannot compete with the quality and the products that I get from being a partner at these guys down here. So I'd love to hear from you guys on all of that. So I'll play you out with a clip from those guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.